Hey everybody, so this is an informal video about how to overcome insecurity through empathy and integrity. So I'm going to be answering some questions to address these topics, and we'll just start with the first one. What does it feel like to struggle with insecurity around other people? And so we have three different responses that people have: fight, flight, or freeze. If you have fight instincts, when you feel insecure, you might become really controlling. You might also become angry when you're not able to control others. So, for example, if you feel really insecure about whether your partner really loves you, then you might be really controlling about knowing where they are and what they're doing and what they're thinking, and accuse them of a lot of things and try to control all the details of their life, out of fear that if you don't, then they'll abandon you or they'll betray you. This could also come out with friends or family. And the real struggle here is that the real issue is avoided while all these other issues come up as a result of projecting your fears onto the other person. And so, really, the insecurity and problem is within oneself in these circumstances. But then because we project it and blame the other person, we create all this drama and fights and confusion. And then all those things become the thing you talk about rather than the real thing, which is that insecurity that you don't want to acknowledge and take ownership of. It won't be possible to work past these issues until you get to the deeper thing, which is your own fears. So fight, and then we also have flight. And so with this one, um, you you could see this in relationships in terms of avoiding vulnerability. Like if you've been hurt before, you might become really cynical about people, really distrusting, and feel like you don't want to let anyone too close to you. You just want to be in control of your life, have your own space, and that's certainly an option for anyone. I'm not going to tell you that's right or wrong, but as you'll experience for yourself, it does come with a lot of loneliness. And so I think that you can actually be happier if you're willing to give people a chance in small increments. And so realize that not everyone is the person who's hurt you in the past. There's lots of people in the world and they're not all the same. Some are trustworthy, some are not, and there's everything in between. And so if you get to know people and you trust them just a little bit and see what happens, and then you can trust them a little bit more and see what happens, and at any point you can decide, okay, this person doesn't deserve this much trust, and that's perfectly fine and respectable and healthy. But at least there's a chance of like establishing real connections and developing real relationships so that you don't feel lonely and resentful, because those are really painful emotions. And then flight in social situations, that could also look like a fear that everyone's judging you, everyone's looking at you. You're the center of attention in a negative way, like you're in the spotlight and the whole audience is laughing at you because you're different, because there's something wrong with you, because you're just fundamentally broken and everyone can see it. And so, when we say these kinds of things out loud, they sound like exaggerated or even a little ridiculous. But the thing is that these are irrational thoughts which are fueled by fear, and fear is a really strong emotion. And so when you have that strong fear in your system, it fuels these types of thoughts. And kind of like I was talking about insecurity before, you know, the nature of fear is it makes you externally focused. When you're afraid, you want to assess where's the danger and avoid it. And so it's actually counterintuitive to be introspective when you feel fear. And for that reason, we don't even notice that we're afraid a lot of the time. And we rarely assess the reasons why we should or should not be afraid, assess them on their own merit to feel like to see if this is really a justified fear. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about knowing what is to be feared and what is not to be feared. That's important. But anyway, when you're struggling with this, you always feel like you're an outsider. Like everyone else is part of an in group, and then you're the outsider, and they're watching you and they're judging you. And if you don't show up perfectly, then you could be just completely rejected. And not only would you be rejected, but because you feel like your self-worth depends on other people's approval, that rejection, it's like death. It's like the most terrifying thing. And so this can lead to a lot of perfectionism. It can also lead to a lot of avoidance, where you feel like, all right, if I can show up and I know what people expect and I know exactly how to make them happy and exactly what they want to see and exactly what they want me to say, then I can show up. But otherwise, I'd rather just keep quiet. I'd rather just not show up. I'd rather just not do the project. So that's what it can look like with flight. And I think freeze is kind of a similar thing, like I was just speaking about. Like you might just get stuck at a certain point in a relationship because it's bringing up fears and insecurities from your past, or you might get stuck at a certain point where you're working on a project, but there's so much uncertainty ahead of like how to go about it and whether it's going to be successful and what people will think. And so fear can create some thresholds in your life that you might feel really hesitant to cross. And in this way, insecurity is a really powerful force for all human beings. We all feel some degree of insecurity, some more than others, but it can be a very paralyzing experience for your relationships, for your success in life, for pretty much everything. It's really a very fundamental feeling that has a huge effect on your life. So, how does integrity help with this problem? One of the main reasons that we're insecure is we look for our self-worth in things that we can't control, like what other people think about us, or, whether we can be number one in every competition, or, we have the best things. We have some control over this, but if we had like absolute control over it, everyone would be rich and famous and popular and all those things. And so it's limited. You can't always be the best, and even if you are the best, you can't be the best forever. And so you look at people like Alexander the Great or Hiranyakashipu, who that's a Vedic personality from the Hindu scriptures. And so they're people who, conquered the world. They've gotten everything you could desire. They've got all the fame and affluence and success and power, but they still feel insecure. And why is that? It's because they know that their importance depends on things they can't control. At any moment, it could be taken from them. Someone could assassinate them, so you find these powerful people are very paranoid, especially about people close to them. They're worried that people will betray them or their fate will change. Other competitors will become more powerful and beat them. And so there's this constant anxiety. Like Prahlad Maharaj said, Sada samadvigna dhyam masatgrahat. Because they've accepted something temporary as the source of their self-worth, they're always in anxiety. And so even on a smaller scale, if we're always looking to other people's validation to feel good about ourselves, then we're just always going to be insecure. And so when you start developing your integrity, it actually addresses this problem on a fundamental level, because you start looking for your self-worth in things that you can control. Like developing a clear understanding of what's important to you in life. What do you value? And then developing your self-control and support systems and healthy living skills that empower you to live according to your own values. And so when you're making choices that you feel proud of, you start to feel good about yourself. And it's all achieved within the realm of things that are within your control. Now, it takes time to develop that self control, and it's certainly challenging. It might not come right away, it might not come perfectly from the get go or easily, but you can do it. And once you get there, and even as you're on the journey, you start to feel good about yourself in a way that's really up to you, that's really more wholesome. And so, because you find your self worth in that way, you don't feel like if someone says no to you or rejects you or doesn't like you, that it's like the end of the world. Like it's like a fundamental attack on who you are at the core. You're able to make more sales calls, talk to more new people, take more risks in life just because whatever happens, you'll be okay. That's really a good place to be. You're willing to take some risk and you feel like no matter what, I'll be okay. And so the more you develop your integrity, the more you develop that confidence. And if you don't develop that integrity, then your confidence is going to be really shallow. It's just going to be like an act, which hides some deeper insecurity under the surface. Now, how does empathy help with insecurity? Well, when we're insecure, we're always projecting our own self criticisms into the minds and mouths of other people. And so, you know, what if I was insecure about my bald head? Now, in this entire video, have you thought at all about my head or yourself and how these ideas relate to you and what you think about them? Most likely, you've been thinking about these ideas, and it wasn't until I mentioned that you're my head until you thought anything about it. But if I'm always worrying about my bald head, and I assume that you are too, then it's going to seem like it's as important to other people as it is to me. Because we always assume we're so self-absorbed, we tend to assume that other people think the same way that we do, and that we're the center of attention in the way that we focus and experience ourselves in the first person. So your main experience of life is experiencing being in your own mind and body. And it's easy to assume that other people are just as focused on you, but they're not. And so empathy helps because rather than assuming what other people are thinking and filling in the blank of uncertainty about what's actually going on in their heads, you connect with people and you hear what they're actually thinking about, what they're having feelings about, what their perspective is, what they desire in life. And then you don't have to guess and you realize that, hey, they're not thinking about my bald head. They're not looking at how my car is not as good as their car, or I don't have as many social media followers as they do, or whatever. Everyone's concerned with their own interests. And so if you can connect with other people and get to know them better, then it automatically makes you feel more secure because you start to feel like you know what's going on and how to connect with people, and there's no hidden fear. There's no threat looming in the darkness of not knowing what people are thinking. You've shined. Yeah, you've shined a light on that darkness, and you've seen the truth of what they're actually thinking about, and now you don't have to be afraid of it anymore. So integrity and empathy help a lot with insecurity, whether it's just, with people in general or your intimate relationships or even just your relationship with yourself. And so I have more questions here, but I think that's a good amount. And so I'm actually just going to stop here